Click the links for Odysee, Bit Chute, or to support channel on Coffee or through the various other means. So Coffee, I think, is the most effective one. So this is an article on a Reuters researcher who got fired for doing fair and accurate impartial research. He found out that the globalist media is in fact globalist and has a globalist bias. You know, where have you been? Where have you been to discover that? Good for him for being honest about it. It's rare, and it also means it will be buried in Twitter, it will be buried on social media, in the mainstream media. We're at a really serious divergence. We're at a nexus point in world history, because American history is going to be at least Western world history, where this Bolshevik revolution of 105 years ago is just happening all over again, slowly, and it's not the same. It's not as easy for them, because it's like America is so diverse, it's hard to do anything. It's kind of like paralyzed by too many factions infighting. Like, you're not going to be able to unite any one group against another group, because there's way too much infighting. Anyway, that's what the article is about. It's a long article. I'll go through it. It's, Reuters researcher gets fired for being honest, for finding out that the media has a left-wing bias. Shocking, I know. But this is the first comment that comes up. And this guy brings up the Frankfurt School playbook, and he makes some points. The creation of things that you're seeing from right now that came from 1933. Creation of racism offenses, continual changes to create confusion, the teaching of sex issues to kids, undermining of schools, teachers' authority, huge immigration and pro-miscegenation propaganda to destroy identity. I've always talked about that. They want a rootless, lost people who will fall for anything. It's kind of the Hegelian dialectic in some regard, is that you make people afraid, and then you offer a solution. It's like, it doesn't matter what the solution is. Panicked people just jump on it. Promotion of drugs, emptying of churches, dependency of the state or state benefits, control and dumbing down media, encouraging breakdown of the family, divorce, socialism, contraception, feminism, abortion, career women, all that kind of stuff all kind of goes together. Encouraging, because it takes away consequences, and it fosters an independence. And you think, so it's a pseudo-independence, because it means you don't need the nuclear family and the extended family to form that structure. You have the government, you have the taxpayer, he's the father. So you're really dependent on the taxpayer, instead of you should be dependent on the family and the extended family and all that. It takes away consequences, where if you don't have abortion and contraception on the table, a woman values what's between her legs very, very seriously, because virginity suddenly has value. It's prized. And having sex and having kids is very, very valued too. So it creates consequences. Like, people, our side, make jokes about abortion being beneficial. It's really not, because it takes away consequences and delayed gratification and that kind of stuff, where you need to put things off to plan for a better tomorrow for all groups of people. Abolish differences in the education of boys and girls, declare women as an oppressed class and men as oppressors. I think it's all these things at the Frankfurt School, they're doing them now. And it's like, you ask them, what are they basing this on? Like, where are the facts, where the research, where's the proof that these things are happening? It's like, these are all just opinions from these godless Bolsheviks, these cultural Marxists. They're just opinions, and they're just philosophy. They're just puffs of hot air. It's like, we could write the same papers, and the thing is, we don't think like that. We're more linear thinkers, where these people are more convoluted thinkers to think around problems. We just go directly to the problem. It's like, a war is fought with artillery, but the peace war is fought with city councils, school boards, attorneys, district attorneys. And really, it's like that's fought with whoever's raising the funds, which in this case in America is going to be Soros, who really runs the country. And it's like, the country didn't really have a defense against a parasitical outside influence like a Soros or a Klaus Schwab's or a Rothschild's coming in. And if you control the media and you control the financial movements, you control the world, you control the nation for sure. Anyway, declare women as the oppressed, declare POCs as oppressed, create an unreliable legal system with a bias against victims. That's from 1933, Weimar, Germany, Frankfurt School, where they came to America. Now, here's the thing with the Karen laws. It used to be, if you see something, say something. There's a situation now that is untenable. There was a case I saw on YouTube. You watch the local news thing. There was 4 guys were following one guy at a mall. He was like, the guy worked at retail and he was going to his car or something. He said it like he got a bad feeling about these guys. He knew they were following him, and they followed him to his car. And he didn't have pepper spray, I guess, or anything. It's like that would have been the thing you do. Would be get your back to a wall and pepper spray your attackers, or use something else. He said, I should have trusted my gut. I should have talked to security or called the cops or done something. It's like, the thing is, people in the comment section are being honest. They're like, yeah, you'd have been fired and doxxed and called a racist if you called the cops or you called security because these 4 guys were following you. It's like everyone in the comments was real honest about it. It's like, there's no good solution endpoint to this. You got these people who are committing these malamensei acts, but the globalist, Marxist, Bolshevik media has pushed forward this idea that to call them out on facts, to discuss reality, suddenly means you need to be doxxed, fired, and destroyed. So it's like his options. I'm thinking of this in my dog walks. Like his options were to simply, they want, what do they steal? The phone and the phone and the wallet. It's like your options were 1, to pepper spray them, 2, to shoot them, 3, to talk to security, get fired and doxxed, or 4, to simply hand it over. Because what they did was they beat the hell out of them and then they stole it anyway. And I'm not saying hand it over. I'm saying use pepper spray. It's pretty effective. You had these four skinny guys who attacked this guy, but like even everyone in the comments, like we see what's going on. This is heading to this weird position where you've got like the LeBron James situation, where they're arguing the most asinine points to say like, oh no, knife attacks are normal in our community, and like people on both sides are like, it's a weird 2020 bingo when you've got people in that community who are saying that knife attacks are part and parcel of their community, and to interrupt that is like, oh, the cops shouldn't have stopped the one girl from stabbing the other girl. It's like, oh, this is we're being led down this 1914 revolutionary path, and it's like, do we really need history to repeat, or can we just like learn from the past mistakes? Well, we're not learning from past mistakes, at least not yet, because very few people are willing to be politically incorrect. And if you're waiting for DeSantis or Ted Cruz or Trump or anyone to be politically incorrect, you're going to be waiting forever. It's not going to happen. Those are not hashtag our guys. They're just soulless, sold out politicians. There are no our guys. We are our guys. And I know how this sounds. It's like a little dramatic. I can hear it, but it's the truth. There's nobody in Congress who's going to do anything. I mean, there are openly incompetent, evil alcoholics like Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Bernie Sanders. Like, those are evil people. They're openly evil people. But the other people, the people who, our side, our normie side think are based, these DeSantis and Ron Paul and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, like people think those guys are our guys. It's like, oh no, they're not our guys. They're Israel's guys. They're China's guys. They might be Russia's guys. They're not our guys. We're our guys. I mean, we're gonna have to like take an active role in government, because it's not like we can't just sit back and watch them run a train down a mountain and just keep feeding fuel into the engines, accelerating this stuff. Like, we have to take it over, peacefully and legally. Of course, I'm not advocating anything crazy. To become like our own advocates, to zealously advocate for our own self-interests, instead of like thinking, oh, well, someone else is going to take care of it. All those guys in Congress who have such big Twitter accounts, they'll take care of it. It's like, they're not going to do anything. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything, period, over any period of time you want to look at it at all. You go, oh, hey, this free speech issue on social media seems to be an issue. It's like, yeah, it's been an issue for 20 years. Why haven't done anything about it? Because they don't want to. Because the puppet masters that are running them won't let them do anything about it. Anyway, that was it. That was a 9-minute introduction to talk about this Reuters data scientist who was fired after nuking BLM narrative, exposing significant left-wing bias in reporting. Here's the thing. He's a Krigman, I think. So, one would assume he would be working for, far left media company. I don't know I forget who owns Reuters, but, I'm sure you can tell me in the comments who owns it, without using any hot words, or else YouTube will shadow ban you. All these things are owned or operated by the same cabal of globalists, Marxists, Bolsheviks, whose only goal is to destroy any nation where European people are present. That's Europe, America, Australia, New Zealand. Those are kind of Canada. Those are kind of the areas that they're destroying any way they can. Anyway, shit, I went through 10 minutes of this. That's the short version of the story. Is he did research into the reporting on Black Lives Matter, the police issue, and the media environment as being far left-wing bias, and he was fired for reporting on it. Some of the things he was saying was, one of the issues was people were posting this chart that shows per capita population percentage of different peoples committing different malum and say acts. And it's like, it just says what it says. It's like, if you're X percentage of the population, you're committing these acts. That's the data he presented. And Reuters panicked when he presented that data. And I'm sure you know the numbers I'm looking at. They panicked and they started to do this. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, this isn't actually the one I was thinking. I've seen a few different variations of this and something similar to this. And Reuters panicked about this, and they're trying to talk about police stops and overrepresentation. It's like, the numbers don't work in their favor because the facts don't work in their favor. You've got different groups of people committing different, there's malum in se acts and malum prohibita acts, evil in and of itself, and evil simply because the law says it's evil. Like, not parking in a handicapped parking spot is not evil in and of itself. Anyway, so you've got, the thing is, when the facts are not on their side, what do? They have to shut down the facts. So they do fact checks, where they publish these long fact checks, and they're just like pages and pages of trying to explain away the numbers, but you can't, because the numbers are pretty simple. But Reuters, like, when it comes down to it, they're not the media. Like, maybe depending on how old you are, if you're in your 40s, you're looking at the media like you have this vague memory in the back of your mind of like how the media used to be, or not how it used to be, how it was portrayed in Hollywood, like in 70s and 80s movies, how they portrayed themselves. It's like, well, people who make those Hollywood movies are the same people who work in the media. They're just blowing smoke up their ass about, they're being stunning and brave and doing all this kind of stuff. It's like, it was nonsense in those movies in the 70s and 80s. It's nonsense now. It's like it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy. They're lying back then, but like, at least back then they were better back then. It's not just hindsight, rose-colored glasses. The media now is